in that question. Need to solve an equation. Yep.
Okay, so we need to solve an equation. Like understand and complete mathematical
No.
What?
What does it mean to solve an equation? Solve and oh, badly good. That should say solve an equation, by the way. Can you change that? Might. That should say solve an equation. Okay. Recording, I could start pulling out the names of people that have not got their pencils out, not got the maths book. They're on records. So we are going to be looking at, I want you to be able to solve an equation, but actually I do want you to know what it means to solve an equation. Okay? We want to know what equivalent statements are. And we are going to use a set of scales to help us solve an equation using equivalent statements. Okay? So, first of all, this set of scales represents an equation. B plus 2 equals 4. Alright? Now, we've done work with algebra, we've done work on the language of algebra. What does this tell us? Yeah?
It tells us what B is.
Well, it doesn't tell us what B is. We can work it out. What does that say? B plus 2 equals 4. Think back to what we've been doing.
A number.
Yeah? A number plus 2. So when we talked about it just as a mathematical expression, we would say a number plus 2. What could B be? Well, in this case, we know what it has to be, but
Yeah.
normally, if I just said to you, what is B plus 2? It's any number add 2. What number could be B?
Any number.
Any number we like. Alright, so this would be called an algebraic expression because it's just expressing to us what we want to do. Why does an expression become an equation? Because it now has a value. So an equation is an expression with a value.
Should we write this in our textbook?
You can write it on the paper, you can write it on your notebook, whatever you think. It's good. Yeah. As long as you've written it, that's what it means. So an equation is an expression with a value. So what does it mean to solve it? Solving means determining what number was selected for the variable. Okay, does that make sense? Lots of ways I could say this, but so b plus 2 is the expression, it's a number plus 2. We are then told that someone picked a number, they added 2, and they got the answer 4. As you quite correctly said, we can now figure out what number they must have picked, right? And you've already done it because it's simple. But what we're going to try and do is have a method so that when it gets harder and harder and harder, because this is fundamentals of maths for you now, this stuff is in every topic and it just gets harder, more complex, more steps. So we're starting easy and we are building up with one method, not just, well, I know the answers to, why do I need these four limits? Yeah? Like I get from a lot of people. Where do you think the set of scales comes in?
Like, it's like, I could tell what an equation is by, it's like one of those things, like, there's something that represents 1, something that represents like 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever. But then there's one without, number, and you have to figure out what it is by looking at a scale. So if there's 2 ones on one side of the scale, and
But you're missing the There's no scale.
it's even.
What's even? Even in math.
Like, it's equal.
It's equal. Then
Like.
what does the set scale tell you? They are
Equal.
equal to each other. They're the same, yeah? That's all I really wanted. A set of scales tells you they balance if each side is equal. So, which part of the equation do you think the scales represent? Well, no, actually. The set of scales represents the equal sign. Yeah, we're saying that b plus 2 and 4 have the same value. Alright? If they were on a set of scales and they weren't balanced, we wouldn't be able to make an equal sign. Exactly. Yeah. So the scales represent the equal sign. So what I want you to think about. Do you want to go in Mr. Patel's office, Alyssa? Or do you want to carry on talking? Alyssa. Mackenzie, are you going to give Alyssa the chance to behave appropriately? Do we need to separate you and move you from us? Or are we good, Alyssa?
We're good.
Okay, good. Thank you. Can we now learn, Alyssa? Thank you. Thank you. Alright, Charlie, don't get involved. Alright. So the scales are balancing. Now I want you to think about the scales and balancing because when you have a set of scales, what do you have to do if you take something off of one side? You have to take it off the other side. Right? Now, one mistake people make when they solve equations is, and adults do this, and some teachers, and I think even in books and stuff, and I don't like it, these mistakes, they say you move things from one side to the other. But if you do that on a set of scales, if I move something from the left-hand side to the right-hand side, that changes the balance, right? Now they get over it by saying, oh, and change the sign. That's not very mathematical. So the way I would like you to think of it is, we either add onto both sides, or you subtract from both sides. We can multiply both sides, because multiplication is just addition, right? Division, we could divide both sides into different piles. So add, subtract, multiply, divide. As long as you do the same to both sides, you're good. Alright? So let's have a look. What can we do? Well, if we look at this set of scales, I want to figure out what one unknown. So the B stands for the bang, right? So this is the B. This is the B. And this is the and 2. Right? So, what can we do to maintain the balance?
You could first, you want to make it B equals nothing.
Yeah.
So you take 2 off that side.
So let's do that. Let's scrub out 1 and 2, because that leaves me with just the B. But what must I do on the other side?
What about 2?
Brooklyn?
Do the same thing you did on the other
Exactly. So I'm going to also scrub out 2. Now, what did I do algebraically? When I did this, we've done this before with this, is B plus 2, but I have subtracted 2 on that side, and I have also subtracted 2 on that side. Now I'm going to simplify, which is B equals 2. I've solved it. I know what B is.
Now, you will correctly say, I knew that anyway. Something add 2 makes 4. It's easy, it's obvious. But that method of subtracting or adding both sides will help us as we get higher. Do you see the difference between here is the physical lifting up, but this is how I've written it out. This is your criterion C, communication. Okay, do you want to make sure you get that down? This, so recording. I am going to, I think you did this. First thing you did was, let's cross out one,
I did that.
cross out 1, 2 B's. So I'm going to get rid of 2 B's. It makes sense to get rid of unknowns from at least one of the sides. So what did I do? I did 2 B's, subtract 2 B's, still plus 3. But on this side I've got 5 B's, subtract 2 B's. That's left me with 3 B's on this side and 3. Now, I can do what? Now I can say, well, on this side I have 3 bags. Can't put anything in a brick. The bag has an unknown number in it. It's up to you. You carry on with bricks inside. And I know that these 3 these 3 known numbers, right, need to be equally what? Divided amongst the bags. So I'm going to put 1 that way, 1 that way, and 1 that way. So I have divided by the 3 bags. And it just so happens that when I do the 3 bags divided by 3, I get what's in 1 bag. So the 3 that got divided by 3 is 1. So I know a bag has 1 in it. Now, what we can do is we can do a check, alright, and our check is to say, does 2 times 1 plus 3 equal 5 times 1? 2 plus 3 should equal 5, 5 equals 5, yeah, I am happy I did it.
Yay. Wait, so B equals 1?
Now, importantly, this scales is a guide for helping us understand. We're going to move away from the scale. That will be your visual clue in your head, but we're going to do this only units. Right.
Yeah.
Any questions on that one? Good. Another little step up. Have a go. Alright, so I'm recording. What do we do first? Well, we've got less bags on this side than that side, so we got rid of those. So we're going to do 4 bags, take away those 4 bags. On the other side, I'm also going to take away 4 bags. Notice how I'm doing it without having to cross out my diagram now. That leaves me with 3 bags plus 2 weights is equal to 11 weights. What do I do now? Now I would cross out the 2 weights. I'd be left with 3 bags plus 2 minus 2 is equal to 11 minus 2. So 3 bags equals 9. Now, if I've got to share 9 amongst the 3 bags, how much will each bag have in it? So divide by 3 gives me 1 bag must have 3 in it. Okay. Ready for some homework?
No.
You want it?
C.
Perhaps some.
Wait, what's